Let's go live now to economic advisor at Judo Bank, Warren Hogan. Warren, you were listening to that conversation between Ross and I. This is a lot worse than the predictions. We're talking about some $160 billion wiped off the share market this morning as it opened just half an hour ago. I want to get your perspective on the RBA now. The next meeting is just before election day. We're going to get another cut.
Well, we could well do. Look, we've got to sort of make sure we keep this in perspective. So Trump's tariffs were a trigger. And what we're seeing here play out in the Asian market in Australia this morning is beyond what the effects of the tariffs are. This is a trigger to a broader financial crisis. And that's what the risk is now, that the volatility, the losses in equity markets are starting to trigger selling in other markets, and that we reveal a problem in the global system, most likely in the non-bank lending sector, that then starts to unravel after this sort of pandemic recovery period where we've had inflation and pretty good economies, but this then starts to get sort of bad to worse. Trump's tariffs, they're part of this. They're just the trigger. That's going to have a long-term effect. He sounds like he's going to ride it out. But what we're now facing is a significant correction in financial markets, which is a little bit different to just the tariff issue.
Yeah, so what do you mean when you say Trump's tariffs and the subsequent trade war we now find ourselves in are only part of this? You think this is part of a broader correction that's done under the guise of this trade war?
Well, no, what we're seeing is the sort of volatility that we saw in the pandemic and what we saw in the GFC. And of course, what the tariffs are doing is trying to restructure global manufacturing and push it back to the US. Everyone understood that. But putting those issues to the side, we've had a very buoyant economy. We had a lot of stimulus thrown at these economies in the pandemic, and there could be vulnerabilities, whether you call it a Ponzi scheme in some part of the financial system or something else, that this is now unwinding. And it's, of course, the sort of magnitudes we're seeing is exactly that. And of course, that's what we're dealing with now. The trade war and the manufacturing issues, they're gonna play out for years, and of course, lots of different and complex impacts. But the short-term concern is that this has all just triggered some sort of financial dislocation, and that really starts to hurt everyone through big falls in equity markets, more expensive money, some businesses, some players not being able to get access to funding, that sort of thing.
Warren, when we look at our economy at the moment, both leaders, and they're right to say this, we have a pretty strong economy. We have been the beneficiaries of a very low unemployment rate for quite some time. And even economists from time to time have been scratching their heads as to how that has been able to remain so low for so long. Might this be something we then start to see a change in? Is that a serious concern? Because when you're talking about companies not getting access to capital, you have big and small businesses under pressure. The first thing they're going to look for, aren't they, is to cut workers in that aren't seen as super productive.
That's exactly right. So one of my points for a long time now has been that we've got a new world where we have labour shortages. We have never seen this, not for 60, 70 years. And that, of course, means unemployment isn't the problem. It means getting people into the right jobs is. But that also means that we will reorder the labour market. That is, some businesses will fail. A lot of people may have to change jobs, and of course a disruptive global event like this could be a catalyst for that process. So over the longer term, let's call it the next year, 2, 3, no, I'm not worried about unemployment. Am I worried now that this could be triggering a short-term problem for our economy that means people lose jobs? Very much so. But this actually is a bigger issue. If we see Trump and this tariff policy get to its end game, and that is to shift manufacturing back to the US, that is going to have structural and permanent implications for our big export markets, that is China, Korea, Japan, as well as other emerging Asia. And of course, how we deal with that's the problem or the issue. And that means a loss of income. The government budget's going to get hit heavily by that. And of course, in the short term, the currency is going to fall a lot, as we are starting to see. It really started to fall on Friday night and is still sort of soft this morning, but it could go down as low as 50 cents in the next few months. And that has all sorts of implications. So the question for the election is, are our leaders talking about the right big picture issues when it comes to our economy? And the answer is no, they're not.
Warren Hogan, always good to talk to you, even on a day like today where it is a sea of red.